Hello there, Mad Mike here, and welcome back to the channel. And today we're going to go on a rant. We're going to go on a very pissed off, angry rant, because this is, and I'm aware the subject has basically been beat to death at this point, but I wanted to mainly go over the Rotten Tomatoes numbers for the movie Cuties. Now, this film premiered on Netflix, I think roughly 3 weeks ago. And it immediately hit like a bomb. The advertising for it had already garnered a lot of attention because it is basically sexualizing children. And that's supposedly what the movie is supposed to be about. So I'm gonna go over this. I haven't actually watched the film. I refuse to watch the film. I am not going to sit there and watch 11-year-olds twerk. That is fucking sick and twisted and fucked up. So I'm going to talk about what has been said about the film, and I'm also going to go over the Rotten. Like I said, I'm going to go over the Rotten Tomatoes score, which is drastically different between the audience and the critics. But first of all, the woman who directed this film stated that the film is basically about the dangers, or not the dangers, but the disgustingness of sexualizing children. So you kind of didn't do it correctly because you are sexualizing children in your movie. And I hope, actually, I don't really give a shit if I'm pronouncing the director's name correctly because, again, this is a sick film, is Mayamuna Decore. And look, you shouldn't make, there were ways to get around this. There were ways to get around having 11-year-olds doing weird sexual shit in your film. You could have up-aged the actors a little bit, or sorry, not the actors, the characters, made them like 15, 16 years old, and then cast people that were older, people that maybe were closer to 20, that were beyond the age of 18, and just could act younger, which is what most movies do. And you could have also probably made the film more about, less about twerking and more about, stuff about maybe ballet or something like that would have been a little bit easier to kind of get across and socially palatable. But instead, you chose to go the, I assume, shock value route. Maybe that's why they did that, was they wanted the shock value. But again, you're basically negating your movie's message because what you're saying for people not to do is exactly what you're doing. So I think the movie is self-defeating in and of itself anyway. But let's get into the Rotten Tomatoes because this is a movie that I wouldn't recommend anybody watch. I wouldn't recommend anybody pop this in and take a look at it because it doesn't seem like it has a point. It seems like it's a movie that supposedly has a message that it counteracts while you're watching it. So it's basically a pointless film. But let's go into Rotten Tomatoes. Now, Rotten Tomatoes, as of the time of the making of this video, the audience score is 3%, which makes perfect sense to me. I don't think anybody in their right mind would want to watch this. The critic score, however, is 89%. That is an extreme disparity. That is more extreme than we've seen in a very long time. And the fact that the critic score is that high is kind of it's concerning. Now let's put it this way. I've gone over this before about how we shouldn't really trust big-time critics because a lot of them are just towing the lines of various companies. And that could be the case in this, but it seems like they're also kind of trying to champion the director. Now, here's the thing. The director, like I said before, the director of this film is a woman. Just because you have a vagina does not give you a pass to show little girls twerking on screen. Okay, that does not give you a fucking pass. It wouldn't. If this was a guy, if a guy had made this film, he would be getting torn apart by everybody on every platform in every place, and he would probably get blacklisted from Hollywood. Now, I think that should personally happen to the person that directed this film, at least for a little while. Go to movie jail for a little while, come back out and try it again in a couple of years. Maybe work as an assistant director or something, somewhere else, or do, be somebody who's filming B-roll or something. Or do smaller projects, do television episodes or something like that, something that somebody else has written. Actually, I shouldn't say that because I don't necessarily know if the director also wrote this. Okay, the director actually did also write this, so yeah. Don't let her near a pen, please. That would be a horrible idea to do again, because obviously you're gonna wind up with something as dumb as this. Now, looking at as for the Rotten Tomatoes score. Now, as far as the listing is on Rotten Tomatoes, the sample size that we're looking at, the critics, there are 36. And the audience has 1,047. So it's not a huge sampling size, but at the same time, it is enough to see that there are a lot of critics who gave this very positive scores, which again is very disturbing to me. Now, like I said, I'm going to go over the top critics because these are the people that are actually attached to big name news outlets. So you have people from the New Yorker, RogerEbert.com, the Los Angeles Times, the New York Magazine, Vulture, Hollywood Reporter, IndieWire, Variety, The Wrap. Now, there are some of these top critics who have given this film negative scores, most notably David Rooney from The Hollywood Reporter, the IndieWire staff, which I guess they don't really give a name for that for whatever reason, and Amy Nicholson from Variety. They all gave this a negative review. However, the IndieWire staff originally had this at a B-, which I think is stupid. But going over some of the other ones, Monica Castillo, who is from RogerEbert.com, writes, with Cuties, Decore announces herself as a director with a keen visual style who's unafraid to explore these cultural and social tensions. Okay, let's go through this. The subject matter of sexualizing children in films is not something that necessarily I think you should stay away from in terms of making a film that shows the evilness of it, the horror of it. At the same time, the director also made the creative choice to cast 11-year-olds in their fucking movie. You do not do that when you are trying to point out that sexualization is bad. Again, you could have just up-aged the actors. There were ways to get around that, but they chose not to. And I personally think they should be ashamed of it at this point. I think that and again, all Monica is talking about in that blurb, again, I'm not reading necessarily the full review, but she also gave the original score for the film was a 4 out of 4 for her. With that, it's like, okay, look, I don't give a shit about the visual style. Okay, it's the essential of like, all right, you can have really good lighting on a turd, but it's still a turd. It's just a very well lit turd, or a very well choreographed turd, I guess. But it's the same fucking thing, and you can't keep doing this shit, people. I mean, look at what you're seeing on fucking screen. Just sit down and look at what you're seeing on screen and tell me with any ounce of common sense that this was worth it, because it's not. You could have gone out and done any film you wanted. I'm sure that this woman wrote this screenplay and pitched it to Netflix, and but by the way, whoever greenlit this at Netflix probably got heads probably rolled not too long after this film came out, because this was a negative PR bomb for Netflix. This is not good for Netflix at all. They need to cut ties with this person as quickly as possible. They need to yank this thing. The only reason why they might be leaving it up is because of the idea of because of the idea of negative publicity, like any publicity is good publicity, that sort of an idea where a lot of people are paying attention to Netflix because of this, but still, just have the moral backbone and pull the fucking thing. Nobody is probably the only people that are probably watching it are watching it basically for the shock value, or pedophiles, and so just pull the fucking thing. There's no point. It's a disgusting movie. It should not have been made the way that it was. The director should be ashamed. The producers should be ashamed. The parents that allowed their children to act in this film should be fucking ashamed. And like Netflix as a company should be fucking ashamed. I don't know necessarily if Netflix has put out any kind of a statement or an apology. I hope that they have at this point. If they haven't, they definitely should. Again, after pulling the film, and people are going to make that argument too that you bitch about people pulling Gone with the Wind, but but you want them to pull Cuties. Gone with the Wind does not have 11-year-olds twerking. Gone with the Wind is a cinema classic about adults that do adult things. That's based in a different time period. Okay, Cuties is a horrible, horrible, horrible film that all it does is show you exactly what it's saying it doesn't want to show you. Or it's showing you exactly what is bad and doing exactly what it says not to do. It's the equivalency of your parents telling you can't have cookies and then putting a nice big plate of cookies down in front of you and saying eat it as they're telling you shouldn't eat cookies. It's incredibly dumb. But like I said, her review is just all you're highlighting is the director. You're not highlighting the material. Because here's the problem is that I get the idea of separating art from the artist in a sense. It's like, okay, I take the movie as it stands, whatever. But if I'm going to do that, it's a piece of shit film. And I can't, at this point, she wrote the film. She was, I believe, also one of the producers of the film. And she directed the film. So most of the blame lies on the director. So now you go down to some other ones. So Justin Chang out of the Los Angeles Times. Yusuf darts through the picture with a vigor, unpredictability, and emotional openness that reminded me of nothing so much as one of the Dardenne brothers' caution-defying young protagonists. Yeah, okay, I'm drawing a total blank on that one. I'm not even on the same wavelength as this dude. But again, it's the Los Angeles Times. I think there's something in the air out there. The New Yorker, Richard Brody. Cuties dramatizes what people of color and immigrants endure as a result of isolation and ghettoization. Okay, that's an interesting word. Of not being represented culturally and politically, and of not being represented in French national mythology. Okay, and again, it's just why you're taking, like, I get the idea that some of it, that it doesn't take place in a nice neighborhood. Let's put it that way. It doesn't take place in a very upscale neighborhood. It's more of a down low type of thing. I think the main character lives in, I guess what you would call the ghetto. But it's not like it's. I don't even know what to say about this fucking film, and I don't know what to say about any of these people either. Look, if one of them can sit there and defend the fact that the movie has 11-year-olds twerking and that's what it's about, that's the A plot line, that's what it's about. If you can sit there and defend it, because all these people are doing is they're just bouncing around the issue to give the movie a positive review. And it could be because the director's a woman and they don't want to, especially for the men who are reviewing it. It could be the fact that the director's a woman, and they don't want to make it angry. They don't want to make her angry. And they don't want her to come after them and destroy their careers on social media and say, oh, they just don't like the movie because I'm a woman or something like that. Maybe that's the case. Or maybe they're towing the line for Netflix. That's also a possibility. Again, critics are bought off these days. They're a dime a dozen. All of these people, especially, look, I'm sorry. The one that works for RogerEbert.com, I would love to see what Roger Ebert would have to say about this, because he would probably rip this thing a new asshole on live television. Him and Gene Siskel used to do this crap all the time. And there's no common sense anymore. It's like, okay, we put it up on screen and it's art. It's the same thing as like those weird modern art things where it's just a guy like humping a wall for like 2 hours. This is artistic impression. No, it's a dude humping a wall for 2 hours. Why the fuck are you standing here watching this? The expressionist art, I believe, is what people called it. But this is just a disgusting. I mean, again, Rotten Tomatoes, the cesspool of films, and this is why the audience score on Rotten Tomatoes matters so much. And they've been talking about getting rid of it for years now. But this is why the audience score matters so much, because that's what real people give a shit about. That's what real people watch, and that's how real people feel about a film. So, in addition to that, Rotten Tomatoes can also fuck with the audience score as well. But I think that this is blatant proof of just, again, that the critics and audiences have a major disconnect, and the critics cannot be trusted. But again, that kind of ends my little rant here. But I just wanted to go over that because I saw those Rotten Tomatoes numbers, and I'm just like, why? Why are these people giving this a good score? There's no reason. Like, I get that there's other stuff that happens in the movie. It's not just about 11-year-olds twerking, but that is your A plot. You can't have that as an A plot if you're going to do it the way that you did it. But, alright, so I'm just going to end this now because I'm just rambling at this point. But I want to know. Actually, I do want to know what you think, but I want to know what you think. Put your thoughts in the comments below. Do you think this is as disgusting and stupid as I do? Do you I know I'm a little late on the hate train for Cuties, but I feel like it's just with the Rotten Tomatoes stuff, it's just like I just wanted to mainly highlight that. But how do you feel about all of this? Do you think that Netflix should just pull the film? Again, I'd like to know your opinions, so put them below. Hit the bell for notifications, hit the like button, subscribe, and remember, I live my life free of compromise. Do you?